think we are live on everything. Just getting things plugged in, switched on, and Monday up here. And questions are already coming in.
Right. Yeah, we'll get started in a second once we confirm we're all up and running.
Instagram good.
Instagram's good. YouTube.
Facebook not good.
Facebook's not good.
It is trying. There it goes. Facebook just clicked over.
Facebook's
Slightly different times. Book of Face is good.
Book of Face.
YouTube's good.
It's good.
We're good.
All right. Welcome everybody to the 034 Motorsport Zero Bullshit Q&A. I'm Javad Chaudzi and this is Nate Stewart. We're here to answer all your hot burning questions about all things 034. We're also happy to discuss any general automotive topics as well. We love weighing in and putting our necks out on the line to help inform you and clarify accurately any automotive myths or misinformation. Happy to chat about all that. So if you have an update question about when something's going to be ready or done, we may not answer it. If we have time, we will. But our goal is to get through to all the real questions because that's our priority here.
As always, it'll be done as quickly as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm. And things are hopping over here at 034 this morning. We started our Black Friday sale this morning.
Did we?
Yeah. And the orders are pouring in like
It's like people wait for these sales these days.
It's like a hotcake flood. But yeah, a lot of orders coming in, and our shipping teams are frantically pulling orders and shipping to get you your parts as soon as possible.
Are we changing just preemptively like order status stuff? I know we've done that in the past with floods of people coming in on orders.
As far as like
customer service, how customer service is issuing.
I'm not sure.
Statuses.
We may have. That's kind of up to the management team on what they do there. But yeah, we have the best inventory position we've ever had. So orders
much less.
Orders are shipping out as soon as they hit our system, and we have great deals across the site. 10% off all 034 products, up to 15% off on a select number of 034 products. And also additional sales on Racing Line and Wagner. So check out our site, 034motorsport.com. We also have our customer service team is doing live chat on the website for anyone who has questions about anything. So we're firing on all pistons here. No misfires. And the questions are coming in, so let's jump in. When tuning for high knock resistant fuels such as ethanol, do you have means of measuring combustion pressure when you advance timing to ensure rod and bearing stresses are at a safe level?
I think that's a little bit, there's two different questions there. One of them is, I think you're thinking of like a knock event where you get a spike in combustion pressure, way more so than you do with a normal proper combustion.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a very different type of pressure, and it's obviously a combustion pressure that is on a rod or a piston that's coming up still into the chamber. So you're expanding, piston's still coming up, and majority of that expansion's already occurred. So all of a sudden you've got this, like, you're just cramming more media into a bag that can't hold it. So that's a very different type of a combustion event. A normal burn is going to be a much smoother process. You're not going to see those kind of cylinder pressures, so they're not quite the same. As far as like overall rod and motor strength, depending on the platform, that's going to be determined more by like your base, boost levels and ignition advance, or whatever it is for that. The ignition advance itself, we do a lot of that on these high knock fuels on the dyno and with data collection, because you can take a lot of these like like E85, E100, run them way past MBT, and your power will start to roll off. You won't get any knock, but you'll get this huge roll off or this lack of increase in power, and you've kind of gone too far. So you can see it pretty quickly on the dyno.
We do not measure combustion pressure.
We don't have combustion pressure.
I'm not aware of
active measurement.
Anyone in our industry.
There's a couple that have K boxes, but it's rarely used because of the headache it is to get the data collected in a way that is suitable and fast enough turnaround time for you to act on.
This used to be something that was more helpful in the past when data logging and knock sensing systems weren't as advanced, and so you would put an engine on an engine dyno out of the car, and then you could install probes in the combustion chambers to measure the pressure. So nowadays with advanced logging, high speed logging with the knock sensing, we can do safe tunes and calibrations. We can essentially map around cylinder pressures. And I know there's some other tuners out there that say they have equipment to do it, but I mean, they're not using it consistently in every tune that they're doing because you just definitely don't need it.
Yeah, I've known some that have had it and have used it like twice, kind of thing. It's also to get the motor set up. Depending on the motor, sometimes you're doing a sacrificial head to drill into where you need.
There's a couple tuners out there that have set up motors and snapped pictures, and they still get to live off the benefit of that picture they posted 4 years ago saying they data log, all this stuff on their engines. But at the end of the day, you can do a perfectly good calibration if you have good high-speed logging tools. You have to develop those. Those aren't just something you buy. We've built and developed all of our own internal logging tools to do that. And we can develop safe, very powerful calibrations, monitoring the knock activity, through the knock sensing system. If I install the upgraded LDOC dual low pressure fuel pump, will I be able to run a higher ethanol content on the E40 map?
It's going to depend. So that would be, I believe that's only the brushless cars, the later B8.5 S4 stuff and A6s. Maybe, but marginally, the ECU is not mapped for it, for one. So you're not going to get any advantage to it. It's just going to be, expecting an E40 level of fuel. So you're going to have fuel trims that are going to be off.
The calibration has to match the fuel system capacity.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you were falling off on low side pressure, then, you certainly have some more headroom, but it's not going to just turn you into a E85 calibrated machine. So, yeah, I don't have experience with that hardware per se, so couldn't tell you how well it does work with the stock low pressure fueling mapping.
Does E85 contaminate oil faster than normal 91 gas? Should you change oil sooner on E85? Also, does fuel contaminants oil more when turning the engine off before reaching operating temp short drives? I can't say that definitively E85 contaminates fuel faster or oil faster than gasoline.
Yeah, it's usually a percentage of however much fuel you're putting through the motor is you're gonna have a percentage of that will eventually make it to the oil. Obviously, you're pumping 30% more E85 generally if you're running straight up E85 through. So you'll get a percentage more of that small percentage that you're already getting past.
Yeah.
But it's not where I would go and like drastically change oil change intervals based on just that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that the oil change interval is different for E85. I think if you have a very rich running tune where you're dumping a lot of extra fuel, or you have rings that are not sealing and scraping the walls as efficiently as they can, then you will get a lot of fuel in the oil no matter what kind of fuel you're running. But it's not like gasoline stays in the combustion chamber better than ethanol. They will both leak past the rings at the same rate, kind of as a function of their viscosity. I think sometimes it's more noticeable when you have E85 in the fuel. It doesn't smell like the oil you're used to smelling.
It's got a different smell to it for sure.
And so that sticks out more, where gasoline and oil smell is kind of something that everyone's used to. And then yes, short drives and not warming up the engine in general are not good for engines. And cold engines run richer. Fuel vapor does not atomize as well when it's cold, and so you have more liquid fuel in the combustion chamber that can leak past the rings. And then getting, gasoline is very volatile, right? Like if you set a bucket of it out on the counter, you can see it like escaping. It's a very volatile compound, which is why it's so good for making explosions. And so is ethanol for the alcohol in ethanol wants to leave. It wants to evaporate into the atmosphere, but the water in ethanol will evaporate in the oil. So if you're getting your oil up to temperature up to 200 plus degrees, you're increasing the volatility of those fuels and letting a lot of it escape out of the oil. Eventually, it does build up in the oil, and you need to change it. But there may be instances where people were running ethanol and had a lot of fuel dilution because of ethanol, but it was not related to ethanol. It's maybe related to the tune or the health of the
how they were running the motor. Yeah, because if you do constant just cold start, nothing ever gets up to temperature, and you're just shuffling a car very quickly, repeatedly, like months and months at a time, you're going to get some moisture buildup and or fuel dilution.
We get asked a lot about ethanol in here, and really, I can say that you can treat ethanol and gasoline basically the same. They're really not. You don't really need any special handling or treatment of those fuels. Other than the fact that you're going to go to the gas station more often on E85. And your face is going to get like flatter, like your skin's going to get stretched out a bit, and your eyes just keep sinking into the back of your head more and more as you drive E85, which is, you got to be careful.
Terrible side effects.
What have been the best automotive related Christmas gifts you have each gotten or given? I don't know.
I can't think of many. I mean, my
many.
Yeah, my parents back in the day, like way back. My dad got me a toolbox or something like that. When I was first getting, probably just more to get me to stop using his tools. I think was
right. Thing. No, I would agree. I think anything related to tools
are always welcome.
Yeah, tools or gift certificates.
Even if you think somebody's already got it.
I just thought of it. It's a 0 through 4 motorsport gift certificate. Available on 0 through 4 motorsport.com. That's the best gift you can
as far as what I've given. I set my brother up pretty well with his Mark 7. With just like our catalog of parts.
That's related to the gift I just mentioned.
That's pretty much sort of on track with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I gave a friend of mine a coupe GT once. When it was some derelict thing that had been like abandoned, I went and got
Was that a good gift? Or
got it started. It was borderline because she needed some TLC, but I went and pulled it out of some bushes and tossed him the keys. What do you think? Number one.
Someone's asking about our B9 A4 ECU and TCU tuning, which we released last week. Did we talk about that on here?
No.
Oh, we didn't. Okay.
Right after, because we did it like Wednesday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We have finally released, for all you have been asking for years, our B9 A4 tuning. This is for only B9, not B9.5. We are working on B9.5.
Technically 2020.
It's up through 2020.
It will work on some.
There's a drivetrain controller change in the later models that is not being flashed.
Okay, so 2017 through 2020. There was no 2016 B9.
No.
I guess I feel like
it's that model year that comes out like
I bought ours in 2016.
2017 model year.
So stock horsepower is 264 horsepower at the crank. Our stage 191 increases that to 307, and a 93 334. The gain is pretty substantial. And on One Plus E85, which is coming soon, 357 crank horsepower is what we're rating it, and that is an exciting thing to wait for. You need our high pressure fuel pump.
Yep.
To run that, but
so it'll be that vacuum plate conversion and pump.
But almost 100 more horsepower and 0 to 60 in the 3-second range. Very, very impressive. So we have what's the fastest 0 to 60 we've run?
Oh, I know what that. It's posted.
It was fast.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, compared to
like
the
3.5 or something like that.
367, I think is what I'm thinking off the top of my head.
Yeah, so sub 4 seconds, 0 to 60. Not quite as fast as an S4, but not that much slower.
It's not
right
a
there.
slouch for.
And the crazy thing is on 93, we're talking 370 torque, and on E85, almost 400, just below 400.
Yep. Yeah, it's running out of turbo up top. That's where
the
horsepower starts closing in. But let me see. 1 plus 85, 376. It's a little
okay. 3.7, 0 to 60. Yeah. So very, very fast car.
And that's with just full weight, normal A4, like no effort given other than just.
Yeah. This is just a stock car with our tune. Really, really fun. I've driven it a number of times. I've driven it on track. The car is a blast with this tune on it. And then we also offer a TCU for improved shift speeds, increased torque holding, much more performance-oriented TCU tune. We are working on stage 3 options. There's a TT option we will be working on. So we will be doing full support for this tune. This is one of the tunes we will be supporting moving forward. So for those of you who want to sign up with a calibrator who's committed to this platform, we're committed to it. I know some customers expressed concern about why it took us so long to come out with the calibration. I want to emphasize the tuning and calibration we've been testing for years, and it's been mostly done for a long time.
Yes.
There's two aspects to offering a tune. One is to have the tuner calibration. The other is to have a server that can flash it remotely onto your car. And so the delay that we've seen over the last year has just been us prioritizing, bringing our server online, writing and creating all the custom communication protocols to access the factory ECU and send our calibration from our place in the cloud to your place in your ECU. So that's really been it. That's all done now.
And
those delays are no longer going to affect further development in the future. So we could spend the next few weeks and develop the next stage calibration for that car. It's not a multi-year process. So
no, yeah, and it was it's just the ECU in that car, though very similar to some of the other CMOS 18 ECUs, is on the FlexRay network, which has some different under the hood considerations you have to take when you're flashing them with what we need to do. And it was like Joel said, it was a matter of priority and getting it knocked out and done. So it's up and running now, and it's been.
And then do you want to much about the TCU support?
So right now the Gen 1 DL382 is supported. Currently Gen 2 stuff is still on lockdown. It's something we are working toward, but I don't have any kind of ETA on that yet.
Okay. If you have any follow-up questions, happy to to report. Someone's asking about torque patches.
Yeah, so we have full I don't know how to word this correctly, but all of the torque on our ECU calibration is available, whether the TCU is flashable or not. So you'll be good to go, and it's reporting all of the torque to the TCU. The shifts are happening properly. Everything's been limping.
The limitations for 2021 Plus are it's a different control.
So again, that's a whole different generation controller, and that then starts sharing the paradigm with the Mark 8 ECU.
Yeah, it's a different communication protocol. It's completely different coding and functionality.
It's a different engine as well. It's based off the Gen 4.
Yeah,
just a whole different beast.
Yep. For an A3 3.2, how much change does the upper dog bone mount make over just the lower portion? Well, that's not the right way to ask about it. You really need both. And so the problem is if you run just the lower insert and not the upper.
We don't sell it just the lower?
No, we only sell them together. I think, can you buy it separately?
Well, are they talking the upper or the other insert? Because there's I don't know if they're talking the actual pucks or if they're talking.
I think they're talking the billet.
The billet inserts.
I think for PQ35 you can still buy separate.
So, if we're talking about the inserts, then they can clarify. You need to run both. You need the upper and lower, because what happens is if you just run the lower, as the dog bone pulls on the mount, it creates an angular force on the dog bone arm. And that's because the bottom of the mount's not compressing as much, but the top is compressing, right? And so you want this force to be linear on the dog bone. So the dog bone mount should only be getting under tension or compression from the engine. But if you only put one insert, then you create this bending force, and what you would actually see is the factory dog bone arm actually bending, and many mounts could even break, especially aluminum mounts. Steel can bend a lot. Aluminum doesn't like to bend more than once, and so if you bend it a few times, it can actually break. So we saw that very early on with customers who did this. So I think our website's very clear. You can follow the advice of our website to cover that. And it does the mounts together. The upper and lower inserts are fantastic. They're very low NVH, and they really tighten up the drivetrain. 034 Nut Swinger reporting in. Good to hear.
Thanks for qualifying.
Day off, get to watch the live stream in the backyard, sipping some brewskis.
Nice.
Wow, that sounds like a great day. Glad we can join you, and I wish I was sipping a brewski.
Brewski hour here, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, who knows? Maybe I do have a brewski inside here. But no, great to hear, and thank you for being with us. Is the racing line catch can better than equal to the newer version released for the B9 A4 S5? I'm not super familiar with their kit. I know they've made some updates to it. We sell quite a few of them, but I'm just not that familiar with it. I know their unit replaces the whole PCV unit in the block. We chose to keep that because it seemed like it's doing its job, and the issue was more the check valves, as well as any oil that comes out of that needs to be caught in the catch can. But I know ours is very good. I've spent a lot of time involved in testing and validating ours, but I don't have any particular experience with the racing line one other than what I've discussed in the past. B8.5 S4, can we talk about steering feel and what upgrades alignment should be upgraded, adjusted to improve? Yeah, so aside from like our Dyna Plus lowering springs and front rear sway bars, those will dramatically improve the steering feel and the flatness of how the car corners, as well as the responsiveness of the steering. Beyond that, you could do our track spec upper control arms, and then you can start playing with camber, and that by adding say like 2 to 2.5 degrees of camber in the front, you will notice an even more steering responsiveness and grip in the front, and that extra camber is going to give the outside tire a lot more grip. As it loads up, it's going to actually sit down flat on the road surface instead of kind of lifting up to the outside. You can also play with the alignment settings. So, your toe in the front, toe in the rear, those will dramatically change how the car steers and responds to steering input. But I would say just right out of the box, our springs, our sway bars.
Make sure your control arms are in good shape.
Yeah, make sure everything
like wear item wise and maintenance wise, make sure you're in good shape.
And then do our lower control arms to make sure that you have good, clean, tight factory arms, and then the adjustable uppers, and then dial in that 2 to 2.5 degrees of camber. You're going to really like that. You can stick with a factory alignment to start with. Toe in really increases stability, but it reduces that turning sensitivity. Toe out makes it feel like the car is going to like fly off the road every time you turn the steering wheel. So you can play with that toe in the front, and then same in the back. The toe in the rear is going to create that straight line stability, but toe out in the back, the second you turn the steering wheel, the rear of the car is just going to
things are going to start happening.
Go, yeah. So Someone says those wind buffeting strips are genius. Glad you like. These are them right here. We have sold a lot of them in the last week. We released these last week. I think on sale they're what, like 12-ish bucks?
$13.50, I think.
No, on sale.
Yeah. 15 normal, I think.
Mm-mm. No,
No, yeah.
they're normally $13.50, so they're 10% off. So I think it's 12 something. But these are awesome.
I don't know. I was wondering if you guys.
They're not a high performance part per se.
When did we start to work on this?
Well, I'll get into that.
Yeah.
However, it's nice to drive with your windows down. Yeah. So they're $12.15 a pair plus shipping. But if you spend over $100, shipping's free. So you can throw these in with any order you place with us. Yeah, so these don't make your car faster or handle better. However, it's just nice to drive with the windows down in the summer. And we started playing with these, I don't know, probably like 7 years ago. Just so that, because newer cars in general are terrible. Driving with your windows down is a complete afterthought on the design side. They're just looking to reduce drag and increase the aerodynamics of the car, regardless of what happens when you roll the windows down. So when you roll the windows down, these new cars just have insane buffeting. If you have one window down, you'll probably notice that, like, you'll throw up after 30 seconds. But these wind buffeting strips, when installed, kind of above the side mirror, there's typically a little triangular area on every Audi, and you just stick it right there, kind of in line with the wind. And so as air comes across, it breaks up. When you blow on the top of a bottle and you create a harmonic resonance, this breaks that up, right? So if you were blowing on top of a bottle and you slid a little triangular thing in front of your lips, it would stop making noise, and that's what this does as well.
Your car is like a half hertz bottle.
Yeah, it's a huge bottle that creates like a very low frequency, which is why it makes you want to throw up, a very low frequency resonance. We wanted to bring these out forever. They seemed kind of BS-y, although they're, like I just explained, they're not. They're just ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
The tooling cost to do a part like this out of plastic is huge. And so we just kept putting it off because we wanted to put that investment capital towards other products. But we finally got it done, and here they are. Feedback has been great. Lots of people have been reporting in.
And we've run like 3D printed or prototype versions of these for the last 7 years on all of our cars because we take them to tracks. Yeah. And almost every club requires you windows down at the track.
That's a good point.
And that is really what kind of spawned these. Is you'd be hit 130 on the front straight at Thunderhill, just getting like concussed down the front straight. So
they are a performance modification in that regard. That they do help you run at almost every track day event requires you to run. So these really make driving more tolerable in those conditions. So. They're a universal product. I want to emphasize. A lot of people keep asking, will this fit my A4? Will it fit that? They fit everything. Okay. I'm not sure if we've found a car they don't fit on yet, but
I don't know, a car doesn't have like a windshield these days. So
maybe you're right on that A-pillar there. So
as long as you have an A-pillar, you can fit them. So we have never seen an Audi that you can't fit these on. So buying confidence, if you want to ask, you can, but we're just going to say that they're universal and they fit everything. So anyways, those are fun and available now. Actually a great Christmas gift or stocking stuffer for anyone in your life who doesn't like vomiting when they roll down their windows. And I think you could buy these for your mom or dad, and on Christmas morning head outside and with a little rubbing alcohol and install them lovingly on any vehicle of your loved one. And kind of cheap, fun, and very beneficial. This is the kind of thing that makes your life better. So either this or I would say hard alcohol. Both would be good. Someone's asking, are they acceptable in Germany with TUV? I'm not sure. It's a total add-on thing. It's not going to make your car any less safe.
It's like a sticker on a window or something.
Yeah, I don't know. They're definitely not TUV approved, but
If we have not gone through any kind of a approval process for,
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough with TUV to know if these need to be approved or not. I would think that you could install them, and
common sense says, but
it's just
who knows what the
yeah.
legislation says.
Well, I need 10mm spacers if I use your flow formed wheels on my B9 S4, or it will be complete, or will it be completely flush? Now our wheels fit really nicely on that car. How flush you want it is sort of a matter of personal opinion. You do not need 10mm spacers. We have designed those wheels to fit very nicely, even better than stock. But there's a lot of, some people like, you're talking 10mm. It's like 3/8 of an inch, so these are very small amounts. So I would say get the wheels, put them on, and then if you want to play around with spacers, I mean, we have very thin stuff that you could play with, and so do a lot of people. Someone says love from Vallejo. Oh, that's great, thank you. Right back at you. At 140,000 miles, what things should I replace, maintain on a B8.5 S4? Well, we talk about this often.
This comes up a lot, yeah.
You want to jump on that?
Sure. I mean, there's all there's a number of things. That kind of mileage, if you don't know what I guess has been replaced, you're going to be in for kind of just wholesale going at it, because
that's true.
you're going to be beyond what I would consider the reasonable lifespan for anything on here. That's going to be your injectors for one. That's one that a lot of people like to put off until there's big problems. Intercooler bricks, if they're still the originals, they're borrowed time. Beyond that, PCVs can go on those. Those had a factory recall at some point in their life, so they generally were a little bit newer than the rest of the car, but again, it's going to depend on your car. And then if you're getting timing noise, rattle on startup, that kind of thing, the chains and guides can be a thing to look at. So that's pretty much the kind of oddball things to that platform that you're going to look at. Harmonic balancer on the bottom on the crank is another thing that can go. So if you're driving down the road and you lose all kinds of power and you have a belt living somewhere in the engine bay where it's not supposed to be anymore, that's usually a sign that your lower harmonic balancer has left the chat.
Yeah, we have 30 questions, so let's keep moving. We've also gone over that many times.
Yeah.
If you want to check out some of our uncut on those.
I think we have some cut out specific.
We do.
For me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Midlife mods here. I just secretly tuned the wifey's 2020 Q5, and wow, what a difference. Dropped at least a second off the dragy 0 to 60. Way more torque. This will be a great video. Oh, can't wait to see it.
It's supposed to be a secret-ish.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, you just...
I'm looking forward to what your wifey says. She's probably not watching this. Although more women should watch this to know what's going on.
Demographically speaking, for our audience, it's a slim chance.
But this is a safe space.
She would waste her time,
ladies. Let's see. How can I improve my B9.5 RS5 handling? I love how the M3 feels like it's on tracks. Want to get RS5 feeling the same. Very, very similar advice that I just discussed for the B8 handling.
Very similar.
Our springs, our front rear sway bars, and then add some camber in the front. That's going to completely transform the RS5. And then you can put a lot of wheel and tire into that car. So a set of our ZTF wheels, the 20x10s fit on that car with like a 295.
Yep.
So you're talking about a lot of tire, a lot of grip. And with the suspension modifications, you're going to get that a lot more feeling like that M3 is stock. Absolutely. The Audis, the RS cars just, aren't as aggressively tuned from the factory as some of the BMW M stuff. So that's what we're here for. We can meet or exceed that while still keeping the car, livable, daily drivable. One of the most important supporting mods for going stage 2 on B9, B9.5. Well, stage 2 is literally just the racing cat. So if you're in a sanctioned racing situation, you can install the racing cat, and that allows for stage 2. But most of the gains in power come from stage 1 with the tune, the intercooler, and the intake. So our S34 or any of our intakes with like a Wagner intercooler, and then you can go 1+. That's on the 85. That's going to give you a lot of power with very little modifications and keeping all factory emission systems intact. How easy is the at-home flash? I'm decently savvy with tech, but scared to brick my ECU. Very easy.
It's very easy. It's, I mean, there's
zero concerns of bricking.
Yeah, nothing you can do that would screw it up. I mean, other than like I'm plugging the dong, like actively trying to sabotage your experience. But we do as much as we can to make it as robust as possible in a out in the wild environment. So almost all the data transfer is handed off to the dongle itself directly. So it's a very robust communication stream between our servers.
And we're not bricking customers' ECUs on a regular basis at all. That would be terrible for our business and also very bad for our customers.
To date, we have never had to buy a replacement ECU.
Yeah. So. No, you're good. It's very easy. Anyone can do it. We flash many thousands of customers a year with our at-home flashing products. You can do it very safely and easily. And then once you have that functionality, it's so nice to have it all right on your phone. How reliable is the DSG software on Mk7 Golfs, because APR and Revo are having major problems?
How reliable is the DSG software?
I mean, the software is always reliable if it's affecting the hardware. Like if the DSG file is allowing too much slip in the clutches, that could cause problems. We have zero issues with our DSG software.
Can't think of any.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any. I know in our support system, I can't think of any Mk7 DSG tickets that have come through with any major problems.
Hello guys, is it normal for the AL551 transmission to be clunky and jerky when coming to a stop? I can't remember if my car was like this prior to tuning or not. Coming from a B8.5 S4, that's smooth.
I don't think it's clunking is normally a thing. I would say you can always just flash back to stock.
Well, not clunking, clunky.
Clunky, yeah.
Clunky and jerky. I know what he's talking about when the ECU's shifting down and going into neutral. There could be like a little.
Certainly shouldn't be any different than stock. You can do a quick A/B test and just flash the TCU and or ECU back to stock and give it a try. Yeah,
you could try that, or you could email us at tuning@034motorsport.com and we can help you do some logs. And help you
that stuff though is really hard to suss out in the logs. Usually, customers will say it's like, hey, it's doing this like clunky thing, but it's usually a mechanical interaction that isn't easy to suss out in a log if it's a super low speed decel kind of thing.
I will say, we've discussed this before, every DSG transmission and tune, even factory ones, will have the occasional hiccup or clutch.
Automatic in this case.
Clunky, or ZF8 or whatever. The TCU and ECU aren't always going to get it right every single time. And so there are the perfect condition or whatever that, the TCU or ECU just makes kind of the wrong choice in that microsecond. So
shouldn't be any different than stock though with that kind of situation.
Yeah.
So that's a super easy test you can do.
Stock, I drive a lot of stock TCU stuff too, and it all has issues as well. It's just not a 100% of the time perfect running executing.
They're not
algorithm.
And they're not issues per se. They're just nuances, or it's just the characteristics of the.
It may not be as smooth as it's supposed to be all the time because of something that happens. Can we remove the update questions, because we have so many real questions? I just want to make sure we get to as many as we can. When running ethanol file versus a 93 file, do you get more boost?
It's going to depend on the platform. Like an ethanol file on a B8 S4 is going to be exactly the same boost because it's limited by your supercharger and pulley ratio. On things like the B9 S4, you're going to get you're going to get more boost in the mid-range specifically. It's going to depend on a number of things and what file specifically. In some cases, you'll get less boost because it's a stock fuel system limitation that we're working around. So the power may be the same or better on ethanol, but it's doing it with less boost. So it's all over the place. It's generally going to be different amount of boost if it's a turbocharged application. But yeah, it's going to depend on the exact files we're talking about. Generally speaking, yeah, you'll have different boost levels for octane and fuel.
Yeah. I bought a B5 S4 and I got to replace all the hoses. Tell me you guys have every hose I've vacuum around.
B5 S4.
Well, we have a lot. We have an intercooler hose kit, and we have the silicone throttle body inlet, and we have a PCV spider hose, and we have the up pipes. What did you say?
Claws as well.
Claws.
Yeah, and we have the kind of the turbo inlet hoses at the top. They're often called lobster claws, which the bypass valves tie into. So we have a lot of hoses. There's a lot of crap on the B5 S4 that we're not going to have.
Oh yeah, there's tons of.
I don't know if we still sell silicone vacuum hose, but you can get nice silicone vacuum hose and replace all that stuff as well. Oh, we have the wastegate hoses in silicone for the B5 S4. So we have a lot. It would be wonderful. Everything's on sale right now if you want to take advantage of all the hose products we do have. I think those are all the ones you really need. We've over the years would have brought anything else that we thought needed to be replaced. Oh, we also have the after-run coolant pump hose, depending on what year your car is. We have for most years. So a lot of B5 stuff. Just load up B5 S4 on our website and
click away
and go crazy. How much louder are your high flow cats compared to stock? I've heard some of the cheap high flow cats, and they make the exhaust sound super raspy, like they're hollow.
No.
Yeah, our racing cats are louder than stock. I wouldn't say they're super loud or drony. When you start combining different exhaust upgrades or improvements, the sound does start adding up. So if you do the racing cats and the Res X and something else, it's going to be the loudest it's going to be. But I like the sound of our exhaust products and our high flow cats. Do we know which application this is? Okay, for a B9 RS5, it's a very nice sounding.
Yeah,
setup.
it's a tiny bit sharper of a note, you could say, but it's not raspy. It's got more crack to it.
The comparison I made with our cars, it sounds like an R35 a little bit.
It just has a more exotic sound.
Yep. Clean though.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
It's a very refined sound still.
And you can combine that with our Res X lower pipes as well, and that's a really nice setup. And then you just keep the stock exhaust.
And then you add the turbos. It's like.
Well, then when you do the turbos, with the bigger, higher flowing turbine wheel, more exhaust sound comes out as well. So yeah, it's really nice sound. Our Stage 3 RS5 sounds awesome. It's not loud or obtrusive. 2021 Audi SQ5. I'm running a factory modified airbox, hole cut in large flat side with K&N filter. Will turbo inlet make a difference for performance and/or sound? I think our super duper inlet will open up things more and let more sounds out. It wouldn't be compatible with your stock intake. You'd have to adapt it. I can't really say much because we've never really experimented with modifying the factory airbox, but on cars with our intake and the super duper inlet, there's some really nice sounds that come out, and it's much more connected. Do I need any upgrades to run the Stage 1 E85 tune on a 24 Golf R?
Just what is listed on our website.
Yeah, so the required
Stage 1 stuff is going to be, E85, and we do strongly recommend a ethanol content meter.
I just purchased my tune at 6 a.m. When am I going to get it? Thank you for your purchase. Ideally, you'll get it today. I think we quote 1 to 2 days max, but we're always trying to get those out as soon as possible.
Yeah, if you need a dongle and whatnot, you got to wait for shipping and whatever method is getting there.
Are there transmission hardware upgrades on 034's B9 product roadmap? I know there is a tune and some inserts, but I'm curious to know if 034 intends to touch the internals in the future. We do not have any plans for that. We haven't seen a need for upgrading or modifying the ZF8 transmission in those vehicles. So
If we regularly get into a point where we've got packages and stuff that require it, that's when we'll start poking around there.
yeah,
But right now, it's been rock solid.
I'm curious to know if they've been told that it's needed, or if they think if there's just a generic
It's just super
question.
common in the BMW community because they have a lower spec ZF8.
Yeah,
Not the M3, but the 340i.
right.
They
I've
just
heard
need
that,
to build them to do anything.
Right.
That's not the case for Audi. They're very robust transmissions. I tried asking this last time and didn't get a response. I installed the trans mount for 2016 Audi SQ5 B8.5, and now I get a weird vibration when going slow and at speed. I need to replace my engine mounts. Would that be why? There should not be excessive vibrations from the trans mount insert on its own. Sometimes the stage 2 rear mounts can add some more NVH. If you have not replaced your engine mounts, those are very problematic on those cars. It's very possible that those mounts are torn or collapsed, or you have even separated completely, and you just kind of have one rubbery nub sitting on another rubbery nub, just kind of doing this. And that will cause vibrations. So I would just verify that the inserts are installed correctly. And
he does say mount, so I don't know if he actually did the stage 2 mount or the insert. So the stage 2 mount can add a little bit.
That's why I mentioned
it.
A little bit of vibration from a stage 2 mount is fine and normal, but not if your engine mounts are broken in half. So you want to make sure that, just for your own health and safety, but also for the performance, that you have good mounts in there. And those are very prone to failure. The chance of them being bad is very high.
I'm going to grab a flashing dongle for one of these questions just so we can discuss terminology.
Currently running S34 super duper package and transmission mounted insert, going stage 1 ECU and 2 TCU with 70,000 mile B9 S5 coupe. Should I be worried about high mileage vehicle? 70,000 miles is not high mileage, and I would not personally be worried. You're going to want to make sure that you do your basic maintenance. Ignition system components like coils and spark plugs are in good health. The water pump is an issue on these cars. You want to make sure that's been that's been addressed. The wastegate system can get coolant in it, so there's a component there. But just as long as you're keeping up with your basic maintenance, 70,000 miles is perfectly healthy and good. You have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, it would be a good idea to do transmission service as well.
Yeah,
right before you tune. It's technically lifetime, but
right.
40 to 60 is where you.
Yeah, all these manufacturers' lifetime is it'll probably make it through the warranty period, and then we're good to go.
No, we recommend doing a transmission service for like 50,000 miles or something. Yep. Like that. So yeah, as long as you do all that, your engine itself is going to be in good shape, and we can always do a health log with you once you're flashed, and we can review your log to make sure everything's ready.
Which car were we talking on that one?
B9.
Yeah. B8's for what it's worth. We do like 40K is pretty typical for any of the DSGs.
Someone's asking about the oil drain update on the B9 S4 and RS5 catch cans. So we are working on a really nice solution for that. It's not going to be out real quick. We will bring it to market and to you as quickly as we can. But for the time being, you can totally run without the drain, and you can there's a dipstick. You can check your oil levels to see. We haven't found that a lot of oil comes out of the engine on those applications, so it shouldn't be something you really need to worry about by the time we have something to you. I'd be surprised if many people ever needed to empty the catch can, but something you can just check easily, and if you need to empty it, it's a couple bolts, and you can easily empty that as well. So we will keep you posted as we have more specific information, but we'll make sure you guys are taken care of. Absolutely. Is there a benefit to running a full 4-inch intake on the MQB platform? Yeah, I mean, intake restrictions offer zero benefit. They only reduce power and efficiency of the engine. So by having a really free-flowing intake that still filters properly, you can maximize your fuel efficiency, and maximize the horsepower being produced. You reduce the the negative flow on the inlet of the turbo, so the turbo can operate more efficiently. It can heat up the intake charge less because the pressure ratio between the front of the turbo and the back of the turbo is more efficient. So yeah, it just has benefits all around. There's really no advantage to having a restriction in your intake, and so for that reason, we made the MQB intake as big as possible. And I don't think you can make it any bigger.
Yeah, this is one of those things. Like, is back how much back pressure is good for a turbo?
Yeah,
like none. Like
yeah.
there's aspects where you really can't go too big on some things.
B8 3.0 T. What's the difference between stage 1 carb and non-carb tune?
Mostly technicalities in the file naming and part numbering. The tunes themselves are almost identical. There's almost no difference between them.
Advanced launch.
Emissions wise and whatnot. Yeah, advanced launch is going to be the biggest one, and then some of just the pedal response stuff is just slightly different on the carb. That's about it. But the rest of it is the same. It's mostly there or separated out because we can only do a 91 octane single file, and it has to be a specific part number for the for the exemptions.
Yeah, and the carb tune is carb exempt with the certificate with the EO number. That's what you get, and you can go through any smog checking situation in the U.S. and all 50 states with that. So if that's what we'd like to see every customer do. Let's keep going. We got a lot. Do you need a cable too if you're flashing by phone?
You need this is where we try to change the terminology when we started doing the phone flashing. Is we refer to this now as a dongle. So you don't need a cable that connects this to the phone specifically, like a USB cable. You need just this. This will plug into your OBD2 port. Your phone can talk to it wirelessly. And but yes, you do need this device to be able to flash with any laptop, phone, or whatever device you're using.
Yep, and that's why we call it a dongle. With the B9 Audi known to having wastegate tubing failure as well as the N75 valve, do you plan to develop something to counter this? Yeah, so the issue isn't the wastegate or the tubing, it's the water pump itself. Yep. The water pump sends coolant in the wrong system when it fails.
Yeah, there's a vacuum actuated plunger behind the vanes.
So we have looked into the possibility of doing our own water pump that addresses that failure, mode of failure. But for the time being, replacing, I think there's been some updated water pump.
Yeah, they've gone through revisions for sure.
So there should be the latest and greatest from the factory should solve it. But the N75 valve and the tubing and all that stuff is not the issue. It's a secondary failure once it gets filled with coolant. Anything we want to prioritize?
Someone's asking if stage 2 TCU is worth it. I'm assuming this is B9. Yeah. If it's B9, it is absolutely worth it. So stage 2 is really like the real tune for the TCU. Stage 1, as we know, is just the torque cap removal. That's it. There's no performance changes in the TCU and how it's acting. So stage 2 is really where you're going to see like, oh my gosh, this is transformed the car again over what the ECU tune did. So shift points, shift speeds, launch control, everything gets changed in stage 2. That doesn't get touched at all in the stage 1 stuff because the stage 1's just, like I said, a free torque cap release.
Yeah, okay, let's just rapid fire.
Yeah, okay.
Will 034 ever give us fatter exhaust tips for the B9? Performance mods are cool, but I want a peacock for all the MILFs, parentheses, other car enthusiasts. Maybe. We've definitely talked about it. MILFs don't tend to really go for the exhaust tips, so I'd recommend working on your empathy and your chivalry. They love having doors open for them, and they just love being treated nicely. So I would start with that and hold off on the exhaust tips, and we may come out with something in the future. But definitely exhaust tips and chivalry, that's definitely the ticket. catch can make the peanut butter in cold weather. Yeah, so we talk about this all the time. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's just an emulsification of the oil, water, and other acidic compounds in your oiling system. That's completely a function of temperature, right? So if you take that white goopy nasty stuff in your catch can and you heat it up, it's going to separate back into the original oil, and the water will eventually evaporate. So what you want is all that stuff to drain back into your crankcase and the water to evaporate. But anytime, if you've ever made mayonnaise, which is very easy to do at home, you can make the mayonnaise and then you can heat it up and you can just keep going back and forth, and it's literally called an emulsification. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not the best running, cleanest engine in the world will make it.
Yeah, it's in there normally. You just aren't looking at it every day.
Yeah,
like it's not an abnormal thing.
And when the catch can heats up, that's all going to melt and go back, and the whole process will start over. But it's a function of temperature, and really nothing else. B9 RS5 here in the Bay Area, getting ready to add your new intake system in stage 1. Any specific recommendations concerning those mods for a daily driver? Like a neck brace of some kind? Or like, I don't know if they make these like little things that hold your eyeballs more forward in your sockets. Now you're going to love it. You can look into, some of our inserts. I would recommend doing like our transmission inserts at the same time. There's a whole host of
we talked about this earlier too. Yes, sway bars and stuff too.
But with stage 1 and our intake and the factory intercooler, you're going to have a very potent setup. If you want to go to the next level, say stage 2 would be to add the Wagner intercooler. That's not a cheap or quick and easy mod. Yeah. It's totally doable. Either of our service shops, ZTF service shops, can do it for you. But then that won't further increase power and flow in the system to give you even more power out of your stage 1. So that's a great setup. And then you could go 1+ after that. So you'll have a lot of fun with that. Looking forward to helping you. Anything else?
I was asking if going from a B8.5 to a B9 is worth it. You got to test right. They're very different vehicles. So the B8 and the supercharged motor is very very connected, very direct power delivery. But not as much power potential. So go drive them. The B9 is going to have a better tech package. It's really down to what you prefer and how you prefer to drive it.
When flashing, any car, will a 2-amp charger be okay?
No, 2-amp charger is going to be noise. That's not going to be anything significant.
That's like a trick.
I wouldn't waste my time. That is just there for when the vehicle is in the off state, just to keep the battery float, up. But no, you need an actual. I think we recommend 20 amp or minimum.
20 amp is going to keep the battery top up. Mind you, lots of our customers flash without it, but we definitely recommend it.
Yeah. It very much depends on the health of your battery and where all that's at too.
Way to go E85, or want to go E85. Are the OEM low pressure fuel pump, high pressure fuel pump injectors are compatible on B9 RS5? Want to run your stage 2+? How do you know if low pressure fuel pump can provide enough E85 to be looking for upgraded high pressure fuel pump? Yeah, so it is all compatible. This is a standard product we've been selling for years. We know it's all compatible because at the end of the day, if we can fuel the engine properly and if fuel pressure targets can be held, then everything's flowing enough. And like I said, this is not a new thing. We've been doing this for years.
We've tested all these combos.
So at the end, where the rubber meets the road is the tune and the fuel system work appropriately, optimally to fuel the engine safely and achieve the performance that we've asked of it. And it is compatible.
Yeah, and asking how do we know the low pressure side can provide enough? We log and monitor and measure and test.
Yes, you can log everything.
Yep.
Looking to get the billet spherical dogbone mount for my 8.5 RS3. Can I order that separately with just the 3 bolts? I don't see that option on the site. So we do offer the dogbone with the upper and lower insert. that's how we sell it. If you already have inserts, the price difference for those inserts is quite small. And with 10% off right now during the sale, I'd recommend just running the whole product the way we offer it with our inserts and everything. If you end up with some extra inserts, I'm sure you could sell them easily on Facebook Marketplace for to recoup some of your cost. But we have, I mean, we already have, I don't know, what are we up to? 8,000 products, 10,000 products.
Oh, number of SKUs.
Yeah, we have to kind of limit the number of iterations of products because it just gets overwhelming. I have a B9.5 2024 S5 and I did stage 1 from your company. Will it hurt the motor? No. Our stage 1 tune is proven safe. It runs optimally. It does increase the power, uses more of the boost capacity that's built into the stock turbo, but the engine can absolutely take the additional power levels, and it doesn't hurt the motor. It would be reasonable to say that over time, does it create more wear on the engine as a function of use and stress? Sure, but there's no way to quantify that, and these motors will still go a very long time on our stage 1 tuning. So I would suggest you can do it and feel confident that it's a very safe modification, and we're always here to help. Can I run your B9 A4 TCU tune on a stock ECU tune?
No, you
need at least
you need the ECU tune. There are going to be shift point changes and whatnot that the stock ECU is not going to cooperate with.
Are you planning on releasing upgraded injectors for the B9 3.0T that can be used both on stock and stage 1 E85 tunes?
Stock and stage 1.
We are in the process of finalizing and releasing a B9 stage 3 tune that uses custom manufactured larger injectors, substantially larger than any of the factory options, that will only be compatible for our stage 3 E85 tunes. You will not be able to run gasoline due to the injector size. It's hard to get a good clean tune.
We're working on that option as well, though.
We may release another injector in the future that's smaller that can run both, but we will be calling this our Emax tune and injectors, and they will allow full fueling for any kind of E85 option up to TTE 810.
But anytime you change injectors out, you're not going to be able to run this stock calibration. So
that's right.
Let's just make sure that is known and clear.
Calibrations are always tied to the hardware and injectors.
We've got people that will throw in like, oh, I've done all my, all right, tuned the car, I haven't put the map sensor or injectors in yet, and it doesn't run right. What do I do? It's like you have to line up the hardware that's required for that calibration. The requirements are there because they're required to match it all up.
That's right. We've gone a little over. Can we keep going for a little bit? Another few minutes?
Go for a couple more.
I guess some of these feeds may shut off.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah,
I think Instagram will allow us longer feeds this time.
Well, you have a nice catch can kit for the B9 A4 as you've made for the S3. We are working on something. We have something in the works, so stay tuned for that. Anything else we should jump on? 2020 B9 SQ5. I see coolant sitting at the minimum level, but never lower after I fill up to max. Did you guys ever come across anything like this? Tune stage 2, ECU stage 2 TCU.
Oh, the only thing I can think of there is if they're, I guess I don't know their use case either. You're really getting a bunch of heat into it, and it's burping a little, and it's getting enough expansion. When it gets to minimum, it doesn't burp anymore.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't drop below minimum, it should be okay.
But yeah, I'm not sure. I can't say that we've seen that specifically.
You could have an air bubble or something. These newer motors are pretty tough.
They can be a big one to bleed sometimes.
We have special equipment, and our techs are very experienced doing it. So they are a pain in the butt. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. Oh, here's one. How big is the 034 team, and how much do you guys get paid as a CEO director compared to a normal team? Well, we have about 60 employees at 034 Motorsport. As the CEO, I do get paid the most. I'm the highest paid person in the company. Shocker. But you see some of these figures thrown around in like corporate America.
Oh yeah, it's not. Yeah,
CEOs making 100 times
Yeah.
more than the average employee or something.
Yeah.
A lot of my pay is heavily bonused on the performance of the company, and so I'm incentivized to create good results, financial and otherwise, at the company. If I'm able to do that, then I get to share in that success. If I screw it up, then I make almost nothing. And that's important to me, to be vested in the outcomes of the performance of the company. I never want to get paid for doing anything but the best work and creating the best results. I'm fiercely competitive. If you guys have been watching this this live chat for the last 4 years, you've seen that in me. I'm not afraid to go head to head with anyone in the industry, and I also fiercely defend our reputation and our honor. So for me, it's important to be incentivized on the performance, but the management team gets paid fairly. We have to pay people fair market rates. We're competing with Silicon Valley companies in many cases. So yeah, but we pride ourselves here at 034 for paying people well and fairly. We have great benefits for a company in this industry, and I think for me, one of the passions of my life and my career professionally has been to build the kind of company that can pay people well and fairly and competitively, that can allow people to build lives, to get married, to build retirement, to buy a home, to have children, to build a family. That's been very important to me. And yeah, it's not easy. We live in probably the most, definitely top 5 places in America. But it also requires us to create really good financial results, because we can't just get lucky. We can't just call it in. Everything we do has to be strategically viable and executed really well. And when we do that, we can compete with other companies in cheaper rural areas in the U.S., and also continue to pay people at the rate locally here that makes us competitive and allows us to keep top talent at the company, and not lose it to all the places down the street. Tesla's half a mile down the street, and I think at this point we've hired more people from Tesla than they have from us. So that's something that I'm proud of, and something that we work really hard on. But I can't discuss specific numbers, obviously. So I appreciate the question. But yeah, the management team has to be paid more. And one other thing, we do promote people internally. That's also very important to me, to see people grow and go from entry-level positions up the kind of management ladder, so to speak. So I think most of my management team, the staff here at the company that report to me, who run the various departments, have all grown up through the ranks. I haven't gone out and hired them as executives of whatever. They're people who've been at the company for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and who have grown up in the company and grown with the company to help us be what we are today. So,
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, you guys have a great Thanksgiving
Yes.
this week. I wish you the best. We are very thankful for all of you here at 034. Thank you again for joining us this week. And I think we'll be here next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.